very warm good morning to all present here. Welcome to this panel discussion being organized by Skill TV for all of us on a very relevant topic, Atmanirbhar Bharat. As we all know, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which translates into self-reliant India, is a Hindi phrase used to popularize the concept put out by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and of course the Government of India in relation to the economic development of the country during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. It is an umbrella-like concept in relation to making India a bigger and more important part of the global economy, pursuing policies that are efficient, competitive, and resilient, and being self-sustaining and self-generating. With that introduction, I welcome the elite panelists, which I'm blessed to be coordinating and moderating with this morning. Let us open the discussion. We now move on to another esteemed panelist who's with us today. We have Professor Kamlesh Mishra, the Vice Chancellor of Rishi Hood University. Welcome, Professor Mishra, to the conversation. As Dr. Abhay Kumar ji has already mentioned the 5 pillars of a self-reliant India, I would like to draw your attention to demography, which talks about the vibrant demography of the largest democracy in the world has. As a leader of one of the leading institutions of higher education, how do you think organizations and institutions like yours are contributing in harnessing this vibrant demography that they talk about? Over to you, Professor Mishra.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. What I want to do is to, I think there is a lot of misunderstanding about what is Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think we need to set the record straight. And I think it's important to understand this concept from the mind of the Prime Minister himself. It's very, very difficult for people to understand what he means. And there are 3-4 things that we need to understand. First, self-reliant India is not about protectionism. It is certainly not about protectionism. It is not about looking inwards into the country, which a lot of people have a misunderstanding. It is not about import substitution at all. And finally, it is not about economic nationalism. So the 4 things we can clearly keep aside in trying to understand this concept from the point of view of the mind of the man, what he's thinking about. I think what it basically means is that how do we create an ecosystem that our industry can become globally very, very competitive? As simple as that, nothing else. Now, that kind of a ecosystem, if we have to create, then there are some fundamental changes that we have to bring about as a nation. Yes, we can continue to talk about the great advantage of having too many people, and we have young population, but too many people and young population is not the only thing that matters. They have to be able to do something. Then only it is beneficial. Otherwise, we can have people who don't contribute much, and you have too many people, you actually become a poor nation, right? So what do we need to do to create that ecosystem? I think it's important. And as an educational institution, this is what we look at, that how do we make India self-reliant? So let's look at the drawbacks that we have, the things that we have to fight over a period of time. Yes, it is true that our cost of manufacturing is lower than many of the developed countries. There's no doubt about it. But we also have to remember that there are nations whose cost is lower than us. So you have Vietnam, you have China, you have Korea, you have Bangladesh, you have Sri Lanka. their manufacturing cost is lower than us. How do we reduce it? Well, power is one of the things that we also need to focus on. Our power costs are very, very high. So the only way we can reduce the power cost, because it is also in the hands of the state government. Are governments willing to stop cross-subsidization and remove the subsidies? Well, it's a politically not an easy thing to do, right? So we have that problem. We have problems of skill sets. We are ranked 107 on the global competitiveness index as far as skills are concerned. And many of the nations are better off than us. So the idea that we have a large population, but we are ranked 107. What do we do with that kind of a population? And that's the reason that the Prime Minister's push for Skilling India has worked. Remember that Skilling India is an enabler for Atmanirbhar Bharat. You cannot have Atmanirbhar Bharat if we cannot bring about a revolution in the skill sets that are required in this population that we have. Our logistics costs are very high. And logistics is not only transport, it is number of things. It is about processing, procuring, it's about warehousing. All these things come into logistics cost. Technology, we are weak in terms of logistics. Now we are working on those things. So how do we reduce? Now, there is no single switch that we can press. You look at the National Infrastructure Development Plan, the roads and highways that are being built, they're all enabling the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept to move to the next stage by lowering the logistics cost. You have better roads, you save time in moving goods. The faster you move, the lower it costs us, right? We have a problem of compliance. Our regulatory costs are very, very high. How does our industry become competitive when our compliance costs are so high? How do we reduce this? Well, maybe we can, once you begin to look at the Digital India campaign and why everything should be digitized, now you will begin to see that that Digital India campaign also becomes an enabler for Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? You look at the new education policy. New education policy focuses on skills also, skill development also. Again, that becomes an enabler for Atmanirbhar Bharat, so, right? You have investment in research and development is very, very low. We need to work on promoting research and investment in research and development. Our interest rates are very, very high. The cost for a businessman or a company to borrow money from banks is high compared to other places, right? As we speak today, the interest rate that is charged in the United States by a bank from a home buyer is 2.5%. I wish someday we will come to that, right? And in fact, if you have an account in that country and you have money there, it will be great if you can get some interest rate. In fact, most of the time you may have to end up paying for keeping the money there, right? Now, that's when the cost of borrowing is low, then companies make more investments. But the problem is that the cost of borrowing is never going to get low unless we stop these freebies that happen in the political arena, the subsidies that happen, that are given. These things are going to have an impact on the interest rates that exist, right? So I think it is important for us to not think that Atmanirbhar Bharat by itself is something that will happen. In fact, if you look at it, everything that I have told, everything plugs into Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? there has been no labor reforms, right? If we don't bring about labor reforms, it's going to be a bottleneck for manufacturing and other industries. Now, we can have all thoughts about why we should not bring labor reforms, and this will happen or that will happen, and people will be disadvantaged. I think a lot of people in this country still have a socialistic mindset, and they still believe that it is okay to take money from the rich and give it to the poor, and so that everybody becomes equal. I think it's such a wrong concept. I think today in India, we have a choice that we have to make. And that choice is very, very simple for all of us. Either we choose an unequal distribution of wealth, which will always happen if you go for a capitalist market-driven economy. So either we are going to choose unequal distribution of wealth, or we decide to continue with equal distribution of poverty that we did in the last 70 years. That's a choice that we have to make. We are on the crossroads of that. For 70 years, we decided that we will choose equal distribution of poverty. Let everybody be poor. Today, we have another option that there will be unequal distribution of wealth, but I hope that everybody from the lowest strata will grow. I feel very happy when I see that the sabji wala on the thela has a app on his device, and he's accepting payments through Paytm, right? He's better off today. The days where a milkman used to come on a bicycle, well, now he comes on a motorcycle. I think what is important is that we cannot make people equal. It is not possible. It is godly not possible. As long as people will have differentials in the way they think and the approach to what they want to do, we will continue to have differentials. But at the same time, we need to become a great nation, a developed nation, who should take the responsibility to take care of those people who cannot take care of themselves. And that is the solution to our problem. And I think that's where Atmanirbhar Bharat is really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kamlesh Mishra, firstly for demystifying what all of us think about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and of course for highlighting the fact that skilling India would be one of the major factors which would decide on the efficacy of implementation of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I'm also glad that you touched upon all the 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat and the road ahead. Thank you once again for joining us this morning. With that, we come to the end of this very, very elite panel discussion. I fall short of words to express how enriched and empowered I'm feeling being the moderator of the Vice Chancellor's Roundtable on Atmanirbhar Bharat, hosted by Skill TV. Thank you all for your esteemed presence and valuable inputs. Congratulations, Skill TV, for this great panel discussion once again. Thank you for joining and being here this morning.
Thank you to all the Vice Chancellors who are present here from Skill TV.